What's up, everybody? I'm Kertiss Baisden Jr., and this is Culture Shift, an Atlanta Gladiators limited series where we're having real conversations about reshaping hockey in Atlanta. This episode, I'll be joined by Jaden Lindo, former Pittsburgh Penguin draft pick and one of the voices pushing for more diversity in hockey. We're talking about his journey, the challenges Black players face in the game, and what it'll take to change the culture from the inside out. And of course, it's all leading up to Black Ambition Night on April 4th at Gas South Arena. Marching bands, HBCU energy, an art walk, giveaways, and an unforgettable hockey experience. Don't miss it. Get that QR code on your screen and visit Atlanta Gladiators /Black-Ambition-Night to get your tickets now. All right, let's shift the culture. All right, Jaden's here with me. How you doing, Jaden?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. All right, so let's start with Solo on Ice. When you first heard about the documentary and realized you'd be part of it, what did that moment mean to you?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't realize how big of an impact it was going to be and have probably until, years later. I think at that point in my life, I was about 17, 18 years old, and I got asked to be part of a documentary. I don't really think I knew how big of a deal it was. I think I was just more so excited about, being on camera. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'd love to. And, to see the way it's grown, to see the impact that it's had on the game, looking back, I see the importance and I see the necessity of having, a film like that to show the public. It's so educational, it's so insightful and eye-opening that there were things that I didn't even know. If we want to make this game more inclusive, I think regardless of whether you're a hockey fan, Black, white, whatever race you are, I think it makes sense to know as much as you can about the history of it and the different contributions that various people had, and that includes the Black community, both men and women, and any other races, people of color that have partaken and have had a lasting impact in the way that hockey is played today. So I think it was long overdue, but I'm fortunate to play a small role in such a project that is bigger than bigger than myself, and just as severely important to the game of hockey.
After being featured in the film, you continue your journey as a player and eventually transitioned into the front office role with the Pittsburgh Penguin. Walk us through that journey, and what were some of the highs and lows of that path, whether it's just in the actual profession of being a hockey player or in the field of being an executive?
Yeah, so after, I finished, I think in the film, I get drafted by the Penguins. And unfortunately, after a couple of years, things didn't work out. So I became a free agent, and I finished off my junior hockey career in Sarnia, my 5th year in the OHL. And then following that, I ended up going to university in Canada, Queen's University. So I did 4 years there. I did an undergraduate degree in health studies, and I played there too as well, which we ended up winning our league championship in 2019, which is awesome. One of the highlights of my hockey playing career. And then following the graduation of my undergraduate program, I kind of wanted to diversify a little bit. I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I think this was a little bit of a challenge I had, stepping away from hockey was, okay, well, for the greater portion of your life, you have this one goal that you want to reach. Everything revolves around hockey. And for the first time in my life, many athletes experience this, but for the first time in your life, you have a little bit of an identity crisis where, what does life look like outside of sport? Right? And it's challenging because, everything that you dedicate in your life growing up has been revolved around, reaching a certain goal. And so personally, I didn't really know or put much thought into, what I want to do outside of hockey. I mean, I was a good student. I did well in school, and I kept my grades. I had really good grades, but as far as specifically what I wanted it all to translate into, I didn't know. So I ended up taking this program called a Graduate Diploma in Business that was offered at Queen's University, where I did my undergrad. And essentially, it was a 4-month accelerated program for individuals who didn't have business experience to get half of your MBA. And it was specifically geared towards those who didn't have like a business background, provides them an opportunity to come from different backgrounds to learn a business, get a business degree. So I thought it was perfect for me, diversify myself a little bit and hopefully open up more opportunities. And so I was doing that in summer of 2021, and I got contacted by someone I interacted with as a prospect when I was in Pittsburgh, someone I interacted with when I was here in Pittsburgh for, development camp, rookie camp, and all that sort of stuff. And, he reached out to me out of the blue, had a couple conversations with me about a position. And, I was finishing school in about a month at the time and, didn't really have anything lined up, still was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And, the opportunity presented itself for me to come to Pittsburgh and take that role. And so I decided to do it. And that role was as manager of community hockey program. So that role entailed, overseeing various different youth hockey programs in the Pittsburgh area, and especially the ones towards growing the game and introducing it to different diverse backgrounds, different diverse communities in hockey. So I worked in that role for about 2.5 years, overseeing various different hockey programs, whether it was ball hockey or ice hockey, learn to skate, try hockey free programs. And this program specifically geared towards diverse individuals called the Willie O'Ree Academy, which is a program for Black and other minority competitive hockey players in the Pittsburgh area. So it's a program that the Penguins put on, and we offer free, on and off ice training and, additional resources outside of ice hockey. So it could be, sports nutritional workshops, career introductory sessions where we introduce them to different careers, sports psychology, culture and identity discussions, overseeing that, which was, important and, a great initiative that the Penguins put on. And so, following that 2.5 years in being the manager of community hockey programs, I was presented the opportunity to do an executive fellowship, which is what I'm doing right now. And essentially what it is, it's a 2-year rotation through different departments of the both front office or business operations and hockey operations to kind of get a broader scope of the whole Pittsburgh Penguins as a whole. So I'm in that right now, and that's kind of what leads me to where I am.
If you're feeling this conversation, you already know Black Ambition Night is the place to be. We're making history on April the 4th at Gas South Arena, bringing Black culture and hockey together like never before. Tickets are moving fast, so scan that QR code on your screen or go to atlantagladiators.com/Black-Ambition-Night to get your tickets now. And now, back to my conversation with Jaden Lindo, where we break down what it's like to navigate hockey as a Black athlete and why representation matters now more than ever. Especially when I found out you guys won the Queen's Cup, y'all brought it back home, so I thought that was really dope. And so I'm sure you were one of very few, if many, other people of color on that team. So there's a weight that comes with being a Black hockey player, whether it's pride or breaking barriers or the challenges that come with it. Can you really share a moment in your career where you truly felt the weight, for better or worse?
I don't think it was a weight. I was always conscious of it, right? I always knew that, that was the reality of, well, I shouldn't say always. I think I didn't realize the connotation of being a Black hockey player until I had my first negative racial instance towards me. I, of course, always knew I was Black, but I don't think it really hits you until you have an instance where you truly feel discriminated and realize that, things aren't going to be as easy as I thought simply because of the color of my skin. So I don't think I had, as I went throughout my hockey career, that there was a weight on my shoulder because I was Black. I was always aware of it, And, if that added any kind of, pressure on myself for me to want to be greater or for me to want to prove people wrong, then maybe that's where the weight came in. But I wouldn't say there was any instance where I felt that, if I didn't make it, that I would be looked upon as just another Black person that didn't make it or whatnot. As I mentioned before, I want to make it first and foremost for myself, but I also want to represent the Black community in hockey in a positive way. And, I think you can do that regardless of whether you make it or not. And, I want to obviously take hockey to the highest level that I could. And, still to this day, wish I was able to make it to the NHL, but as I mentioned before, things don't always work out the way that we want them to. Unfortunately, for tearing my ACL in my draft, that didn't help. And, I had a couple of tough years after that recovering, and, that's just kind of the way that things go. But, these are the instances of adversity that we face. And, I think they all only make us greater. They only make us stronger. And, no one knows what our end goal, what our end purpose is going to be. But, I think as long as you continue to strive and work towards being a better person, leaving a good example and trying to create change, and you're only going to leave a good impression.
That's dope. So through work like you do with the Pittsburgh Penguins, hockey is evolving. There are still barriers for players of color. So what do you think are the biggest barriers for players of color and what are some of the things they still face today?
Yeah, there's many barriers. I think as I've gotten older, I've realized how expensive hockey really is, even from a young age. And, I was fortunate to have two parents that were able to support me and, support me in my dream of playing hockey financially. But I think as I've kind of gotten older, I see kind of like how those numbers really add up, and like, wow, I was really, really fortunate to be able to play. So that's a huge factor of being a barrier. It's just the finances and everything that's involved. I think the accessibility, there aren't as many hockey rinks as there are, soccer fields, basketball courts, and when you do get ice, it's expensive. It's not like you can really just go anywhere to any field and work on your game, right? Spending money on ice costs hundreds of dollars, right? And people don't really have that. And, even the ability to get to ice rinks, sometimes they can be 30, 45 minutes away. And, sometimes people don't have the parental support or guardian support to be able to take their kid 5-6 times a week, after work to the ice rink. So, finance is a barrier, accessibility is a barrier. But then I think also just the connotation of, being a minority in hockey, unfortunately, because there have been so many instances where minorities have been unwelcomed. It takes a lot for a parent to feel comfortable putting their kid in a sport where they don't feel accepted or where they know that their child will not be accepted. Even if they may have the financial and accessibility to it. And so I think that's something that, has unfortunately hindered minorities from fully embracing hockey and understanding and learning about the sport because, they haven't felt welcomed into it. So I think that's been another challenge that has impacted, the growth of the game. And, unfortunately, it's a big hurdle to overcome. But, I think over time you continue to see more and more minorities of color playing the game. And I think as time goes on and as people continue to stand and, accept diversity in the sports and not tolerate instances of racial discrimination, they'll only make people more welcoming and, confident and happy to play, participate.
So Black history in hockey is rich, but a lot of people don't know about it. So what's one thing you think more people should know about Black contributions to the sport?
I think, as Soul on Ice does a great job of depicting all that. I think there's so much involvement of Blacks being involved in hockey, especially in the Maritimes in Canada where it all started. But, and I think the documentary touches on it a little bit, but obviously Willie O'Ree is the first, Black hockey player in the NHL. But a name that isn't put out there as much is Herb Carnegie, who, likely should have been the first black hockey player in the NHL, but because of the color of his skin, he wasn't welcomed into the sport. And going back into the documentary, he actually rejected the opportunity to play in the NHL because of the minimal salary that they were offering him. And, he had a family at home, and he knew that, if I accepted this I wouldn't have been able to support my family. So that just kind of shows the kind of person that he is, giving up a dream and, not being compensated for what the value that you bring just because of the color of your skin, prohibited him from, accomplishing that goal. And that's not to diminish anything that, Willie Reed did. Willie Reed obviously went through his trials and tribulations to get to where he is, and, the legend that he is for doing so, and the impact that he's had within the game for breaking that ice barrier, will live on forever. And, both of them in their own ways are legends in the game of hockey.
Yep. So now let's talk about Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta. Team here, we play in Atlanta. So what do you think it'll take for the sport of hockey to really break through in a city like that?
Yeah. Atlanta's a great city. I was there a couple years ago for a wedding. I have family that actually lives out there in Atlanta. And I know Atlanta had Thrashers there probably over a decade ago. I'm not sure what year they left. I know at the time things weren't going too well on the business side. But I definitely think Atlanta is big enough to support a hockey team. I think the only consideration that people have is, will they be able to survive financially, just based on how it did in the past. I think, hockey's continue to grow, and I think hockey's continue to get more diverse. And I think the thing is that, I think, as people in Atlanta begin to uncover how great of a sport it is, and how exhilarating, how fast, how competitive it is, I think it has an opportunity to succeed. We know that, Atlanta's huge for football. You got the Bulldogs, you got the Falcons, you got a couple college teams, not just Georgia, right, over there. And then, you have the Atlanta Hawks in basketball. But I think, I would encourage people to be open-minded. Just because even if you don't play, even if you don't skate, you get the opportunity to go see a hockey game, just give it a shot. And, you may see something that you really enjoy, that you really love, and may grow an interest for. And I don't think that, diminishes who you are as a person. I think, one of the connotations that people often have with minorities in hockey, or black people in hockey, is that, if you like hockey, then, quote unquote, or whitewashed or whatnot. And, I think you can embrace your black culture, embrace your black heritage, and enjoy hockey for the sport that it is, right? So I think, if you're a sport activist and someone who enjoys sports in general, I think you can be willing to give hockey a chance, willing to give it a fair opportunity to see if you really like it, then you should. And it's not for everybody. Not everybody's gonna like it. Not everyone's gonna enjoy it, but don't knock it until you try, because there's a lot to love about the sport.
So like you said, Atlanta has a deep-rooted black culture and a very serious love for sports. So if hockey did have a presence here, what do you think the city could bring to the game?
I think just so much passion. You see the passion that they have for football. You see the passion that they have for basketball, the passion that they have for the Braves, right? And, there's so much sport, so much competition that revolves in hockey. And now you have the Gladiators there too. But, hockey encompasses a little bit of everything. The physicality of it, you get that from the football, the finesse and skill, you can get that from the basketball side of things, and, the strategy from the baseball side of things. So it encompasses like a little bit of everything. And I think, just knowing how Atlanta is with all their other sports, if they can support a hockey team, I can see it being if they can support, the Gladiators, and, I guess, if there was an NHL team to come back, I think Atlanta would be a great place to play, and a destination where a lot of people want to play hockey.
Gotcha. All right, so Black Ambition Night is all about celebrating Black culture, entrepreneurship, and history through the lens of hockey. Why do you think events like this are important for growing the game and making it more inclusive?
I think it's huge. I think it does a little bit of everything. Similar to Soul on Ice, it brings history to the forefront and shows people that that there is a sport, or there is a place for them within the sport. I think having these conversations, being forthcoming and talking about the sport and doing things like this to show people that there are minorities in the sport that are passionate about it and that want to grow the game only does greatness for the sport of hockey, and will only help continue to grow, will only help continue to bring other people of color into the sport and show that people like me and you have embraced and welcomed the sport and feel welcomed, and that it is a safe space for them to kind of join within the sport and see that all that it can be as well.
So you've gone from NHL prospect to now working in a front office role. How do you see Black executives shaping the future of hockey? And what advice would you give to a future Black executive?
Yeah. I think, similar senses, being a player, changing this narrative and the stereotype to that you do belong, both on the ice but in the front office, right? Hockey and life are similar in the same sense that, you want to feel like you belong, and, you want to feel that you can reach the peak levels of whatever you do, whether it's, playing hockey or whether it's in the professional field. You want to establish yourself as a representative to show the younger generation, to show people that, these are things that you can achieve if you, set your heart, set your goal, set your mindset to it. And so that's kind of where I shifted kind of my focus. A lot of the things that come naturally when you play sport at a high level, you translate it into whatever it is. And so I find myself taking a lot of the intangibles, work ethic, dedication, character, how you present yourself, all those things that you learn from playing sport, you kind of find yourself bringing it into your profession as well. And so, I just try to apply those same mindsets in a different way to help try to, I try to, continue to elevate myself and continue to strive for what's next. And, just try to push myself to be the best that I could be at whatever it is that I end up, doing or becoming.
Okay, perfect. So lastly, we're going to be doing a screening of Soul on Ice on March 21st at Duluth Town Square. So for someone who's never seen Soul on Ice and doesn't know much about it, why should they watch it today?
They should watch it to just understand the history of hockey, understand that, people of color have been involved in hockey for decades, for centuries. And, I think whether you're a hockey fan or not, it just shows a level of resilience and overcoming the ability to overcome barriers. And you'll see that the challenges that people went through in the documentary to get to where they want to be, to get to establish and reach their goals. Whether it has to do with hockey or life, you can take those same lessons, those same theories, those same strategies, and apply them to whatever you're challenging yourself to develop and grow and become. But, I don't think Soul on Ice is just a hockey lesson or for hockey fans. I think it's a life lesson, a lesson to open up your mind and to, see that you can become more than you think you can, and see that you can become and accomplish more than you think you can. So, I hope everyone enjoys the documentary, and I hope everyone can take a little bit of something away from it. And I hope that they become hockey fans too, and enjoy watching it as well, following the sport, because, as I've mentioned many times, it is a beautiful sport, and if you can find an appreciation for it, it would be awesome.
Perfect. Hey man, Jaden, thank you for joining Culture Shift, man.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it and love the work that you guys are doing.
Now that's a wrap on this episode of Culture Shift. A huge shout out to Jaden Lindo for sharing his story and giving us insight on what it takes to make hockey a more inclusive sport. And don't forget, this whole series is leading up to Black Ambition Night on April 4th at Gas South Arena. If you want to be a part of this reshaping of hockey in Atlanta, this is the place you need to be. Scan that QR code on your screen. Go to Atlanta Gladiators /Black-Ambition-Night to grab your tickets now. Before I go, drop a comment. What do you think the biggest challenge in making hockey more inclusive is? I think it's definitely the price of admission. It takes a lot to do this stuff, man, and hockey's very expensive. There's a lot of gear involved. But tell me what you think. Until next time, keep pushing the culture forward. This is Culture Shift. See you next time. Peace.